Hello, YouTube, and welcome to episode 6 of the BLS-Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Devison, and with me tonight, I've got 3 other members from the BLS team. I have, once again, Jake Bonner.
Hello.
I have, for the first time, I believe, Daniel Wyatt.
Hello.
And, what can I say? He's come back. It's Sam Beeman.
It's the red rate.
Fellow Simmers.
Yeah, I got rid of him for one episode, but that's about your luck, everyone.
Yeah, there you go. I'm back.
Yes, it was mine that we didn't have him, wasn't it? We managed to avoid him on mine.
It was peak rail. And Sam pointed out I got the episode number wrong when recording, so...
Oh, okay.
I'm human. What can you do? So this is episode 6, not the last one. And that's when Sam tells me I got it wrong again. Anyway, we would like to welcome you to the 2022 BLS Look Back. So we're going to try and do this every year. It's a yearly thing. To look back at the previous year on everything that got either released or big news that came from BLS. The recent 12 Days of Christmas we won't be covering in this podcast. That'll be a completely separate video on its own, which I think everyone here will agree it deserves its video on its own to look through those 12 packs, as it were.
Yeah, it's a good idea, I reckon.
Also, just another slight disclaimer. No news on the NYMR in this video or this podcast. So if you've turned up for specific news on the NYMR, you're out of luck. It's not in this video / podcast. It is in the works. As we know, we keep saying it, but please bear with us. Keep checking our social medias on Facebook, even on our Discord, for any updates regarding NYMR or any of the projects we have currently on the go. So, let's just jump straight into it. Wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah.
So, as it is the start of 2022, we had our New Year's Day live stream on the Mid-Norfolk.
Oh, God, I remember this. Yeah, this was the first time we showed off the phase 2 of the route from Wyndham to Thaxton, wasn't it?
Yep.
Well, technically speaking, it was to Garvestone Crossing because you guys said that I should just go a little bit further to give the, viewers a little bit more to look at. So we went to Garvestone in the end, didn't we?
Yeah, well, I was the one driving. You told me to go there.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Jordan was driving. This is also the famous stream that Jake gave us the life story about his club that he volunteers at.
Oh, no.
Well, it was. The whole BLS team was in there at that time. So
Yeah, wasn't that one of the very few streams we had every single person pretty much in that stream?
yeah,
Yes,
it was.
It was, yeah.
I think it's the only stream of the year we
Doesn't
had everyone
understand.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good day. I enjoyed it. It was nice to show off the route.
Yeah,
really.
It was a good evening spent. So,
Yeah.
Following from that, we moved to the 9th of January, which should be, yes, it works. I got it working. Woohoo! I've been praying it will work. We had the initial podcast, and this was for the Great Central Railway Locomotive Pack. So this was the 9th of January was the first episode of the podcast, sort of like a pilot, as it were. And in that one, we had Sam, myself, Lewis, and Will.
Yeah, it was really good. That was a nice. It was a good one because there was a lot of good information being spoken about in that podcast, because it showed just the amount of work that was put into that pack. You know, all of the different locomotives and the scenarios as well, which I spent a good I think it was at least over a month working on the scenarios for it.
Well, this was the initial teaser to the pack. This was the first sort of proper in-depth look at the pack, because we hadn't shown any videos of, just screenshots.
Yeah. But it was this was sort of the time it was nearing release, wasn't it? It was close to being released.
Actually, funny enough, it wasn't for another month until they got released, which we will come to. It will.
Okay.
It is here. So that just gives you it gives you an idea on how, because this was meant to be released before the new year. Well, it was technically supposed to be released around Christmas time, but it just kept running into slight issues, pushing it back. But we got there eventually.
That's the route not the route. That's the pack that my coaches kind of, helped with, wasn't it? Because we had that gap where we didn't have any dining coaches.
Yeah.
And then come along, mine came, and then Sam was able to use them in the scenarios.
That was it.
Yeah, because that was the sort of the previous Great Central Railway bit of content the previous year, and I believe it was 2021 that got released.
Yeah, they're a few years old now, coming up to about 3 years old. I think now they are, since I did them.
Yeah, they were really useful for this, especially for the scenarios.
Yeah. So, moving on to the 16th of January. So not too far in the future. We had this, which was Mid-Norfolk Phase 1, moving over solely to British Locomotive Studios.
Yes. Yeah, so this was quite a big thing, really. This was something that I wanted to happen, because I know that the author of the route, Brad of Traction Studios, was stepping back from the TS community, and we had already done so much work put so much work into doing phase 2 of the route from Wymondham to Dereham, that I would say a majority of the work being done on phase 2 was done by the BLS team, because Brad was stepping back from the TS community, and it was decided that it was to permanently come over to us, just because of obviously the sheer amount of effort that we had put into the route, with like assets and other bits of detail. Because I know Steve has been doing a lot of custom signage for the route, and it's also the first route that we've ever done that we're having fully custom made 3D buildings, which we've never done before. Just solely our work of custom buildings in Blender, and I think that's why it's a very special route, and it's close to my heart in that sort of sense.
Yeah, Steve's done a fantastic job on those buildings. He really has.
Definitely.
So, moving on from there, 21st of January, we had the extra DRS Class 37 pack done by Lewis or LJ Trains. So this added quite a nice variety to the AP pack, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. I've used quite a fair few of the reskins in various different bits and pieces, and I've got to say they're quite decent.
It adds, basically the idea behind it is to add additional 37s that AP didn't include in the initial Class 37 pack. So locos such as 37604 and stuff like that. The DRS 37s that weren't included, and well, thanks to Lewis, they are now included in some way, shape or form, in all different sort of styles of weathering as well, because he added clean and weathered versions, I believe, as well.
Yeah, I believe he did.
Yeah, which is brilliant to see.
So, moving on a week, we actually have 2 things to discuss in one day on the 28th of January. So,
Oh
I put
no!
this one in
Oh no!
Oh no!
because this was quite a funny one.
Oh dear, not this thing.
Sam's review of the Class 700 by DTG.
I don't think I've actually watched that, so I might have to go back and watch that video.
Oh, it's. I think Dan can agree with me. It's god awful, and it
Come on,
really is.
DTG. Since when does a 700 on AC sound like a 450 on DC? How does that work, DTG? I mean, reusing traction sounds on the 395 and the 801. I mean, come on.
It was really bad, and no rail joint sounds. Had no rail joint sounds at all, so it didn't have no clatter or anything.
I wouldn't even call it good enough for freeware, to be honest. It was just an unfinished model,
Yeah,
and the
it
model's
was-
wrong itself.
The model itself, I felt is pretty good because obviously it was made by, I believe, Master Key. I think
Yeah.
it was an unfinished work in progress model by Master Key that got sent over to Dovetail Games to finish. However, sadly, being sent over to Dovetail Games, they did a rather shit job of the 700 because the texturing was poor, the sounds were poor, and yeah, it was just awful. And the best part about it was when Armstrong Powerhouse got his lovely hands on it and did a sound enhancement pack, which I still need to look at actually. No, it's something I do need to look at, the enhancement pack
Yeah,
for it.
considering the scale of the review you gave this thing.
I gave it 2 parts because I only realised that after doing the first part, and I believe Dan told me about this, that there was a different version of it with a separate sound set, wasn't it, Dan, or something like
Yeah,
that?
because you've got AC, you've got the AC traction motors, and then which is OHLE, and then you've got DC, which is what happens is direct current comes in through the third rail shoe and goes into the motors, turning into alternators with a transformer. It produces a different traction motor sound, which is the UFO sound you hear, instead of the high-pitched whine that you hear on AC.
There you go.
That taught me something.
Yeah, there you go.
Good bit of facts there. Good bit of facts
Yeah.
there. Good
I learn
information.
something new every day.
Funny thing with this, though, is the 700 isn't even modelled on the actual 700. If you notice, there's something off about the shape. Well, that's because this was modelled on the concept art, not the actual 700. So,
Okay.
no matter how much you try, it's just not true to life.
Fair enough.
Mm.
Now, if I've got the order of the pictures right, we should have, yes. So on the same day, we had the Network Rail Coach Pack release by Sam Arner, which is also available on Alan Thompson Sim. Just have to say.
This was a bit of a
Kerfuffle.
kerfuffle, yes.
That's the nice way of saying it. That is the nice way to put it.
The testing on this was just, it was so hard work because it was such a big pack. It had coaching stock and locos in, and obviously it needed a bat file created. And at the time, Sam Arner was quite new to creating bat files, and some of the line of code wasn't necessarily wrote correctly. So when in testing, it was actually doing more damage to people's games than anything else. It was causing strange consists to appear in the quick drive scenarios. It was, the damage it caused was pretty insane. But luckily, we got around it, didn't we? In the end,
Yeah, I was.
and
It was
fixed it.
it's the way the quick drives have been set up, because I was having it on West Coast Mainline South, and me funnily enough, me and Sam were actually discussing this on call earlier, and as nice as it is to see a 37 test train, you don't want to see it every 5 seconds, because think of how high poly the models are for starters.
Yeah. So you'd have the same consist just constantly cloning along the whole route, didn't you?
And sometimes,
And I think it's actually the 37 that's in the picture. It'd either be that in a light loco formation, or it'd be with the coaches.
yeah, but I know even sometimes you would get like a modern day route that you'd be doing a quick drive on, and someone would get a random black 5 just turn up. Well, I say a random black 5. It was
Yeah.
black 5.
I get the random black 5 on West Coast Mainline Trent Valley, and this isn't a problem with this pack because this has happened for years.
Yeah.
But it's obviously something with Bossman Games is Black Fives then.
Causes. West Coast Mainline Trent Valley is already a pretty intensive route because of the amount of detail in the assets and how many polys the assets have got and everything.
Excuse me.
And it doesn't help having a what? I don't know how many vertices that thing's got, the Bossman Games Black 5. But it's like 4K texture sheets as well, or 8K, I don't know which you used. It's pretty like beefy stuff. It looks nice,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the only drawback is
Performance.
Yeah, it's the performance on it, but they're nice models. You can't knock them.
Yeah, it's the sad thing is you're running on basically it's still a 32-bit game. They've just patched 64-bit over it.
Yeah.
It's running on DirectX 9, which is from
Old.
2007, 2008. It's used in Half-Life and stuff like that. That makes
hopefully-
that makes you think how old it is. I mean, it would be better if, look at Train Sim World SimRail. If you look at that, for example, they can deal with many high poly models in the same area at once. It'd be better if the game could deal with that, but it can't. And that's sadly the drawback we have at the current stage.
Well, let's hope that this new so-called DTG update they're planning will actually help try and fix that problem.
Well,
I might be wrong. I may have read that article wrong, but
Yeah.
maybe let's hope that they
It will
try and come to solve some of these problems.
it will only fix it so far, but
the fact is with that is you have to rewrite the code, but you have to rewrite it in a way that it doesn't break the rest of the game content. And that's not going to take a couple months. That's not going to take a couple months. That could take a couple years. They've got to siphon through all the game code and the game engine and, figure it out. This is why Train Sim World was made, because it was just easier to start from scratch instead of updating the current content.
Also, you've got to be careful because you can't muck the game up too much because you've got all these lovely content creators out there, third-party developers and stuff,
Well, look at the issues we had when 64-bit first came onto the scene. People are having issues with it corrupting track bins and everything when using it in the editor. I don't know if people still have those issues now. They did get patched.
It's been patched, and I know for a fact it is working
been
as intended.
Yeah, it's just... It's nice to see that they're trying to breathe some new life into, a simulated app from 2009. Theoretically, if it was me, I'd have thrown it in the bin and walked on and just completely built a new game engine.
Well, technically, it's from 2007 if you class Rail
There you go,
Simulator.
yeah. I mean, kudos to them for even trying, because
Well,
I'd have just thrown it in the bin.
The thing is, it's an old game. It's, again, as anything, there's limitations to what you can do to it. The technology has moved on, but you can't implement it into Train Sim Classic, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just requires a complete rescript of the game, and they have to do it in a way it doesn't break anything. And if it does break everything, all the third-party people go crazy then. And like, oh, we can't sell content for the game now. And all our stuff's broken, and then DTG have to deal with that.
Massive backlash.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on then, Jordan. What's next?
Moving on from the 28th, we had a fairly big weekend. We actually did a meetup.
Oh,
the
yeah.
GC.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh no, I remember the.
So you didn't turn up in time, Dan, and Jake, you just didn't turn up at all.
Well,
So.
no. Fun fact: Dan was there when that photo was taken, but he didn't want to be in the photo. Yeah, he didn't want to be in the photo, did you, Dan?
I don't think I did. I think I was a bit camera shy.
Yeah, you was. You was like, oh, no, I don't want to photo.
Yeah, Jordan,
and Jake just didn't turn up.
Jordan, to be fair, well, it wasn't. I didn't. I didn't. I wasn't planning to turn up, but there was myself and Steve that didn't go. So, I think that was it. I don't know
That
whether
was
Sam
it.
Arnold.
Sam Arnold was there actually.
Sam Arnold was around, but
just
he wasn't with us for the full day or 2 days. But yeah, it was a good chance to meet up with everyone. It was a good laugh for a weekend.
I rather enjoyed it.
Oh, that's when we said everything with BLS in front of it, wasn't it, Dan? You know, like BLS bedtime.
BLS bedtime, BLS ultra round.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah, do you remember the Ultra BLS round? That's in the vlog, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, that's in the vlog, which will be brought up in this podcast when we get to it, because someone, not naming names, Beeman, took forever to edit it and get it released.
Yeah.
Sam, you took a while, but one thing I do credit you, Sam. I really liked the intro you gave for me as I was arriving on the 101. You got Eye of the Tiger in the background. You know,
yeah, the instrumental. Yeah, that was really good.
So, speaking of the GC, we move into February now, and the Loco pack was actually released on the 4th of February.
Oh, look at that! Look at that 20. The weathering work Will's done on that is just top notch. I've not even looked at the 20. You know,
I think that was one of the favourites out of the pack. I know that was a very popular one when that came out. A lot of people really like the 20s.
I assume that's water where the OHLE flashes. I assume that's water that's calcified down the side of the engine room. That is.
It's funny you should mention that, Sam. It's funny you mentioned about the 20 because it was the 20 reskins, the standard 5 reskin, and the 8F reskin were my favourites within that pack. And of course, 33 as well. What model was it? Was it a 27 that's based though?
Yes,
25? I can't remember.
27, yeah.
There was a 33 in the pack, wasn't there?
Yes. 33
Yes,
for a unit.
Which we will come on to in just a second. That's not too far away. So, yeah. But yeah, that was a fairly hefty pack to get released. A lot of people involved with it. And it was a big relief when we got it released.
Well, the majority of the team was involved in that pack. That's just how big it was. Yeah.
But you know what? I enjoyed being a part of that, and I enjoyed helping out with it because, you know, it's the railway I volunteer on. And it's nice to see something. It's nice to see something I've worked on in real life in a simulator form.
But yeah, as saying, it was such a big pack and so many people involved. It's probably why we did do too much in February. Because that was the only thing to come out of BLS in February. Because we now move on to the 1st of March, where we decided and announced that we're going to be doing some major updates to the Whitwell and Reepham route. Yes.
Now that's still ongoing, really.
It's still very early ongoing.
The idea behind it is, number one is to fix the model railway platform, which I've put as you can see on that image. You can see where that brick, where the platform just stops. There is actually supposed to be a ramp there, but I haven't put it there. That needs a ramp, and God knows why. I just put it as a block. I think on my reference photos I had, it was before it had a ramp, so I think that's where I got a bit confused. And the main things that are going to be updated on it are the buildings. And Steve has said that he's going to create a custom station building and signal box, which are the two main factors of it. And another thing I was speaking about was updating the scenarios, which we have technically done, but that's in one of our latest Christmas calendar releases in the small railway scenario pack. But we'll delve more into that when we talk about the Christmas calendar content in another podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I've not yet tried. I've not yet tried that, so I'd have to download it and have a look at the route in its current stage. have a tinker with it because I do quite like small railways where you can do shunting. I quite like setting little puzzles up, which is what this kind of thing is for, really.
Yeah, that's what these little routes are for.
It's quite nice to just have a relaxing run, really. Sometimes I just like to just drive a train up and down a really small section of line, just up and down. It's just relaxing, because it's not too difficult to drive on. It's just, it's quite fun and entertaining,
I like doing my high speed runs. I like doing steam, but I also like doing little things like this, trundling along at 15 mile an hour. Oh, you've got to put a wagon here, put a wagon there. It keeps your mind active. Instead of just sitting there, I'll lift a pedal, put it back down again, slow down for a speed limit.
It's brilliant for shunting puzzle scenarios, to really get your mind working.
Indeed. You have to use, exactly. You have to use your brain. You have to, figure out what you're doing.
Yeah,
right.
So it is being worked on. Steve will be doing some custom assets for it as well, won't he? Which, once he's got Mid Norfolk done, Mid Norfolk is the main priority for him at the minute. So moving on from Whitwell Reapham, 23rd of March, so another fairly big gap in proceedings. Thank you to JRS for allowing us to host it. Was the Hogwarts Bullied Light Pacific?
I loved this. I thought it was a brilliant piece of kit. Did everyone else download that, or had a go?
You can almost certain I did.
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah, this was lovely. This was. He did such a fantastic job on this reskin. How he did like the Hogwarts Railways logo on the side of the tender and everything was just brilliant. Yeah, it's just fantastic.
So yeah, massive shout out to Jordan Rail Simulator for allowing us to host this on our website. And we enjoy working with him and looking forward to hosting more. So then the next day, which is the 24th of March, we had a Certain 33 have a live stream done by Mr. Danga White from one of, I believe, his very first sound mod, which was the horn mod.
Yeah, this was brilliant actually, because I remember speaking to Dan about it, and because I know that D6535 in real life at the GCR has a different horn to the standard 33. It has more. It sounds a lot like a Class 57. So my guess is when this locomotive went off to scrap, because I imagine it probably went for scrap, because it just doesn't make sense why it had a different horn. Either the horns broke, or you get what I mean. I believe they got replaced, because back in the early 2000s, a lot of 57s were knocking about on the network. So my guess is they swapped the horns out for some unknown reason with a 57 horn. So the best way that we could replicate that was by adding the horn sound from the Armstrong Powerhouse Class 57 Sound Pack Pro. And that's what Dan did with this. And the stream, to this day, the live stream was the most popular live stream we have ever done in the history of BLS. And I don't know why. I still don't know why.
We got like over 1,000 viewers or something, didn't we?
And
1,000.
Well, I can remember at the time of the live stream, it gathered 1,500 or 600 views. That's probably gone up by then, but at the time it was around that figure.
It was pretty insane. Just don't know how we managed to get so many viewers.
Yeah, that was.
This is also this is the first time I showed you my sound editing skills, if you think of it.
That's it. This was your first dabble into the sound editing.
Mod, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know, Sam, you and Will had been figuring out for ages on how to, change the horns on the 33 without affecting the other horns and everything like that. And I just waltzed in and I'm like, right, do bosh, 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 bosh. Right. Done.
Can I talk a minute?
Yeah.
Not a minute. I'm just doing this. Yep. Right.
Yeah, I'm still quite like the 57 horns on it, and it is,
it's different.
It's unique in I think that's what makes it so nice. I remember downloading the mod for it not long after he'd done it, and I think I to this day I absolutely love it. It just sounds different.
Doing that gave me confidence, with how many views we got and everything, gave me confidence to, actually, you know what, maybe sound mods is my thing. Maybe I'll take a step back on reskinning and let's have a play with sound mods. Let's see what else I can do. And, it's paid off because we've had quite a few, obviously what we're going to come on to, but we've had quite a few good packs come out of it.
We have. Yeah.
So, sure. I'm quite proud of that. And you know what? Thanks for Will for creating the reskin, because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And thanks for Sam for the idea as well.
Yeah, it's just something that I thought, yeah, that needs doing, to make it realistic, because it is a bit of an old dog, that 33. It really is. Like it's very worn out, isn't it, Jordan? That 33.
Yeah.
And to have that strange sounding horn replicated onto it just breathes a whole new life into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, that's one of our most popular live streams / videos on the YouTube channel, and it was very surprising. So moving on from that, we moved to the next day. We've had a few days of hive of activity at the end of March. 25th of March, the J19 release.
This was another one that was really quite a bugger in the testing side, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had a lot of little niggles in it that needed fixing.
I had issues. With it at one stage, and I, for the life of me, couldn't figure out what it was. And it was literally something simple. I remember messaging Neil, and I was like, trying to get this working, such and such. Can you walk me through it? And he just walked me through it, and I'm like, oh, so it was that I did wrong.
Yeah, so this locomotive was produced by Neil Cunningham. He's got his own website called the Cambridge Lines. You can look that up on Google. He does a lot of little locomotive models and enhancement packs for reskins and bits and pieces. It's definitely worth a look at, and he's kindly let us host a few of his models on British Locomotive Studios. So it's nice to get, in a way, rolling stock. Not necessarily just reskins, but proper locomotive models on our website. It's brilliant. It's very kind of him to allow us to host some of his stuff. And the J19 was one that was really quite hyped up, because we actually had somebody do a video on this when we announced the J19s in the Train Sim corner, and he called his series This Week in Train Sim, and it was on a YouTube series, and he featured this and a couple of other of our packs, which was very kind of him indeed, although he stopped doing them now, which is a shame. But yeah, they were really good little videos, and it helped us out as well, because he was giving us a bit of extra advertisement for this locomotive, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was.
I know Neil's released some fabulous content. Honestly, my favourite, I'd like to say, is the Great Eastern 440. For the life of me, I can't remember the classification.
D16?
Yeah, the D16.
Is that it? D16? I love that pack.
Yeah.
That
is probably my favourite.
The way he's captured it as well. The textures are really nice. The physics are really good. And it's just, it's nice to drive.
Yeah, it was brilliant. He has produced some really good models for us over time, and we had the B17 as well, was another highlight of some of his content. That was his first sort of loco release on BLS.
Well, I remember testing. This was when I wasn't even with BLS. I remember testing that for him because I was one of his testers, and that was pretty good. It's nice. I says to him, it's nice to see how he's progressed over time from what he started with.
Yeah, this is something that Jordan said in the D16 review, I believe, didn't you, Jordan? You said it's nice to see sort of the progress of what Neil's done, because if you look at his first model comparing to the later models, you can really see the progress, can't
That's
you?
it. Yeah, it's nice to see the progress and the progression of a 3D modeler like that. So next on the list, we're moving out of March and into April, the 1st of April, and this one was quite a big one, especially for LJ. D6700 pack released.
Ah, yes, I remember testing this.
This was fantastic. I loved this pack. I still love this pack to this day. It's something about it. It's the first 37, isn't it? It's the pioneer 37, and it's just captured brilliantly. And I know that he's still got plans to do an update to this pack, because D6700 has actually changed slightly since the version he's modelled right on the screen there, because now it has the bronze horn grills placed on it, and it's had a new paint job, so it's a lot more shiny. So he has plans to add that one in, and also we've also got another version that we're planning on doing as well with a nameplate, but we haven't got round to doing that nameplate because it is a bit of a bugger to find reference material for. Yeah.
So something
Wasn't
to look forward
gonna
to.
say, wasn't it the day that this pack was released? I did a live stream in the evening, didn't I, on my Twitch stream or Twitch stream of this pack, because I remember setting the head code up. It might have been on that actual model itself, and I set it up as, I think it was 04/2022.
Yes.
The joke between everybody was, can you spot? And I remember playing it on you, Sam. Can you spot what is so particular about this screenshot? And I remember putting a post on my Facebook, and I don't know. I think only a handful of people actually got the joke.
Yeah, and then we also uploaded that footage from Twitch onto the YouTube channel, didn't we?
Yeah.
The highlights. That was a good stream. Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, it was a brilliant pack. You had all the
pack.
different variations of it as well. You had the plain green versions, you had the half yellow panel with headlight, and then you had the current version, you know?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about D6700 is it's not necessarily a half yellow panel. It's more of a extended half yellow panel, because it is the only 37 to have the yellow panel to go past the marker lights. And it's very bizarre, really. So that's what's unique about it.
Yeah, it was a big pack, and I know it was a big job on LJ's part to put it together, get everything as accurate as possible. And he is a very picky person when it comes to 37, so yeah.
He's a massive 37 fan, isn't he? So
yeah, top marks to him for that. So moving on to the 14th of April, we had the first release of a reskin competition.
Yes, and this was your reskin, because this was back when we allowed staff to enter the competitions, wasn't it?
Yes.
We don't allow it anymore because it shouldn't technically be allowed, really.
But just to clarify, there was 2 winners from the competition, and there was only 2 people entering reskins.
Yeah, one of them was staff and one of them was just, at the time, a randomer.
Yeah. So
yeah.
it was like, well, there you are.
Yeah.
So
I need to start doing some more Discord competitions, actually, because it's been a while since we've done one. But the C-Class was also one of your first reskin releases, wasn't it, Jordan?
No, it wasn't. It was probably like my 4th, 5th.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, I'd done the blue bullets beforehand.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember.
But this one was probably my first one that was more intricate, with all the intricate lining and different colours in the blues. So this is based off... So this is a what if the Southeastern Chatham C-Class was painted in that Bluebell 323 is painted in.
Yeah,
So,
and I must admit, it suits it. It does suit it. It's a lovely livery.
I think when I look at it, when I keep looking at it, it's like I want to do a little bit of updating to it, but it's getting round to it. So, speaking of the second reskin that won the competition, the Beetle Crusher by Matilda.
Yeah, and this was before she became a member of BLS, because it was not long after the competition that I believe she approached us about becoming a staff member for the company, didn't she?
Yeah.
And of course, you know, we all came to a decision. She sent over a few bits of her work, and we thought, you know what, she's actually a really talented reskinner, so we'll take her on board. And yeah, so this was her sort of her first big release for BLS, really, and it was through the competition, wasn't it?
It was.
It was well, I think from the stuff that we got in the competition, it was a winner from the word go, wasn't it? It's just something about it. It was a lovely looking livery. I like how it has the, you know, the yellow lining and stuff on it. That just sort of that dark blue color scheme on it just really does look smart, and it was brilliant. Yeah.
So then the next day, we're moving on from the 20th to the 21st. Not so much as a highlight, but it was quite a big thing at the time. Merlin Light Railway has been cancelled, temporary / permanently. We're not too sure, really.
I still have a copy of the original version of this route.
So do I.
Yeah, the big problem we've had with it is I think it's the scale of it. I think it's because it has too many sidings, too many shed areas with high detailed track. And what that's doing is it's maxing out people's PCs. And that can cause a little bit of a problem, as we found out with Jordan's computer, didn't we, Jordan?
Yeah.
Where it completely destroyed your hard drive, didn't it?
It did. It cooked it. It didn't fully destroy it. It was salvageable, but, well, I say the data was salvageable, but it cooked the hard drive so it wouldn't read properly.
And this is exactly why it got cancelled instantly.
The route did have quite a lot of crashing issues on it, and one of the crashes caused my PC to blue screen from it. So
I mean, had that not have happened, the route probably would have been released. It was literally that. It was on that winner's streak, as it were. It was very nearly finished. We was just doing the scenarios, and it would have been released. But then it cooked Jordan's hard drive, and then that was like it just rang alarm bells instantly, and we was like, okay, the route is too unstable. We can't release this to the public. And then that was the end of it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a shame, but it unfortunately, I suppose these things happen sometimes, and I don't really know what the future is to hold for it. To be honest, I try and avoid touching it. I don't like going on it because I'm worried that the same thing that happened to you, Jordan, will happen to me. You know. So
yeah. Well, moving on to the next day, another fairly large pack. Purple Bullets.
Oh, this was brilliant.
Sam.
Yes, this another great pack. So we did have some really good stuff in 2022. We had some great events.
We've got more to come.
Yeah. This it sort of this was our sort of tribute to Her Majesty the Queen,
Late
isn't it?
Majesty.
Well, late Majesty, sadly. It's such a shame, isn't it? But I remember creating this. Well, the trailer for this, because Sam obviously made the pack of it all, and I remember creating the trailer and putting that, you know, British anthem behind it, you know, the Queen's music, as it were, you know, the royal music that we always hear, you know, everyone knows what it is. And I remember just making it and watching it over and listening to that music, and I was thinking, "Core, I'm bloody proud of my country. I love my country." You know, it just gave you that sense of, you know, it made you feel proud. You know, you thought BLS has made a really great, you know, tribute in honor, you know, to the royal family with this pack, and it was great, wasn't it? Really, it was a great feeling.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it was good
I
to get it.
completely agree.
It was good to get it done and out there. And the nice thing as well is he added all the different varieties of names it could have had.
yes, yeah, because there was a competition on the Severn Valley Railway of what this is going to be named, because it was obviously Tor Valley being painted in this livery, and there was a competition, a name competition of, I believe, 4 names. There was Elizabeth II, Severn Majesty, Valley Monarch, and what was the last one? What was the last one? Can anyone remember the last one?
I can't remember.
Seven Majesty or something.
I said Severn Majesty. I can't remember the last one. Okay, I can't remember the last one for the life of me. It's gone. I don't know. I can't remember the last one, but it's in there. It's in there somewhere. It's whatever the name is. It's in there somewhere. It probably wasn't a very good name. That's probably why we can't remember it. But it's in there anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember there was an update to this pack as well, because Sam had to change the nameplate slightly, because when the nameplate was outshopped, the winning nameplate, Elizabeth II, it was slightly different to the usual Bullet Pacific font on the nameplate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he had to change the font and shorten the word as well to sort of make it more squashed in. So it's squashed into the nameplate more. It was brilliant though, wasn't it? The pack overall.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's a big variety pack for just the one loco, as it were.
And this leads on to something that we're going to talk about later. It was quite a big. We had quite a big. We had 3 big Bullet releases. This year, didn't we? Well, last year.
Yeah.
But beforehand, we move on to 29th of April. We had a 31601 reskin release.
And I believe this was the last release that Will Braddock did for the team before departing in 2022, didn't he?
Yeah, before his extended hiatus, as it were.
Yes. And this is the popular 31601, which is now seen regularly at the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway, but originally seen an awful lot at the South Devon Railway. And I believe the South Devon Diesels Group own this locomotive, although don't quote me on that. It might have been handed over to different owners now. But I'm still certain that the South Devon Diesels Group still own this loco. But yeah, so it was originally a South Devon resident, I know that. But yeah, it was.
Well, originally,
nice.
if I'm not mistaken, it was a DCR loco, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because I can vaguely remember seeing this at Derby tucked in before the remodeled Derby station.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that was it was originally owned by Devon Cornwall Railways.
So after that, we move on to just Sam's bloody bundles. We move into May. We had the Swanage.
That sounds so wrong, you saying that.
We had Sam's. I say Sam's. We had the Swanage Diesel bundle release.
Yes.
For the love of me. Thank God we got rid of them.
No, we want them back.
No, we don't. We don't need them. Don't need them back. No advantage to them. Literally, it was a case of we already had some reskins of Swanage diesels out. We had another pack coming out, and instead of merging them together, Sam decided, no, we won't merge them together. We'll just have 2 separate packs, but put them in the same place so people can get at the same time. Yeah, confusing.
No, it's basically like the Steam store bundle, where you get, you can get a variety of packs in a certain bundle. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, but as I said to you before, in the Steam bundles, you actually gain something by saving on money. There's no advantage for our bundles. There's no incentive.
Well, there is on the previous website, because the previous website was a nightmare to scroll through all the reskins.
Yes, but
so
when we come to it, the new website, so much better.
Yeah,
but
if you do want the bundles, though, guys, go to the old website.
Why? It's just don't. But yeah, so anyway, Swanage Diesel Bundle was released, adding a few more reskins of, I believe, the Shunters and the 33s.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one because the Swanage Diesels pack originally came with D6515 Lieutenant Jenny Lewis and a plain green Class 08 reskin, which was to resemble D3591, which is a resident at Swanage Railway. And yeah, they were originally the only two locos, and a couple of scenarios came with it. And then there was an update to add the second resident Class 08 shunter, which was 08 634, I believe, or is it, I believe it's that, or is it 436 08 436 08 436? I think that's the one. Yeah, which is the black one with the warning wasp stripes on the front end. This has actually been repainted into a different livery now. It's no longer in this livery, shockingly. And we haven't actually reskinned that livery yet. But I don't know whether we will ever do it. But it's a very complicated livery to do. It's the Eastleigh one, isn't it, Jordan?
Yeah.
Whatever the one it's in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we added that in. And then the Stan Symes pack came later, which is D6515 in its very early preservation years. In its Stan Symes scheme, and yeah, we've done some quite nice Swanage stuff, and bear in mind these were all done by Will Braddock. He did a lovely job on them, and I believe Jake did a review on the on some of the 33s in this pack, didn't you, Jake? He Stan Symes ones.
I think I did.
Yeah.
In fact, wasn't that another live stream? I thought didn't you do a live?
Yeah, it was another live stream
about it where I looked at it.
Yes, that was it. And it was on my birthday, 17th of December. You remember? It was on my birthday, 2021. Was when we did the Stan Symes. Because I think, if I remember correctly, I think Will purposely released Stan Symes on my birthday because it's my favourite locomotive. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
So,
they are.
Moving on to the 18th of May, we have another one from Daniel, which was the West Coast Class 47.
He's been waiting for this.
Patch.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, this came about when Jake was asking about West Coast 47s and they don't work properly, they've got Kuju sounds, and I was like, let me have a play around, let me see what I can do, and lo and behold, the 47 AP sound patch came out for the West Coast 47s from Steam Sound Supreme. This is kind of like a predecessor to the UKTS Class 47 sound patch, which Sam absolutely adores.
Yes, it's brilliant, yeah.
But this was just something, to see if it could work, and paid off. It involved messing around with input mappers, changing bin files and stuff, but, I quite like it.
It was quite popular as well when it was released. I remember it being popular because a lot of people really did like the Steam Sound Supreme West Coast 47s.
Well,
with the fact that they had the plows and that, they are really nice reskins, and it was a shame that they didn't work with the AP sounds. But now, thanks to you, that's been resolved, hasn't it?
I think it was Ben Yates that originally did the rest.
I think the thing is, Sam, it's the fact that we've had this conversation so many times, but because it's the only decent 47 we got in game, i.e. the default one, but obviously the West Coast one had, obviously, as you said, it got the plows, it's got the ETH here, and I think it was something. There was no other West Coast 47 that looked decent, and it still does to this day. Okay, you've got the BMG one that comes with Welsh Marches, but unfortunately, as we've discovered, the AP 47 sound pack, which is, I believe, now discontinued from the website, doesn't actually work with the BMG 47 very well. It breaks the sounds. So I think until we eventually get a new 47, whatever that may be, I think this is a good substitute.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Well,
Yeah.
Osman Games model is nice, but
Mm.
it's just the physics and the sounds, and sadly, because the sounds on the Kuju 47 are advanced, as Sam said before, you can't put them on that.
Yeah, because
I mean,
yeah,
I probably could, but it would involve a lot of file editing and figuring out what goes where. I don't know. I might eventually do it. I might not. Depends if we get a new 47. But it's just one of those. It's a stopgap, really.
Yeah. And it does. It fills that stopgap until
Exactly.
we get those new 47s.
And thanks for Jake for, coming up with the idea.
Very welcome.
So, after that, we come to the next pack on the 20th of May, which was one of Matilda's again, which was the clean version of the blue Class 03.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now this was an interesting one because at first she just created the one on the left, which is just the standard clean version of the Doncaster Works Class 03 shunter.
Yeah.
So, as standard, as we all know, the Doncaster Works Class 03 is a very faded, worn out, sort of weathered livery. She tidied this up and made it look more preserved and more clean, and it was a very nice reskin. And I said to her, that's brilliant, we love it, but to make it more appealing, how about we add a version with a black buffer beam? So it is literally not just the same livery as the Doncaster Works, just a clean version, because people have got the Doncaster Works one. They'll probably sit there and think, well, why should we get this when we've got the Doncaster Works one? There's not really much of a difference. It's just clean, But whereas if you add both different styles of British Rail Blue Class 03 in one pack, it gives that more wow factor that makes people go, oh, brilliant. There's now the full range of BR Blue Class 03s we can have in TS. Let's go and download it. And that was the purpose of the black one on the right-hand side, the one with the black buffer beam. And it gives you the opportunity to create preserved ones like 03 118 and 03 170, which are residents of the Epping-Ongar Railway. And there's so many different opportunities that you can do with these two blue 03s. There's so many different numbers you can replicate with these, and they're very handy, really.
Yeah, it just adds an extra bit of variety to your preserved railway, as it were. So, moving on to the 25th of May, which sort of sparked a diversion from Train Simulator Classic to Train Sim World 3.
It's free now, isn't it?
Yeah,
it went from Train Sim World to Train Sim World 2 to Train Sim World 3.
Yeah, so this is the...
Just call it TSW.
It's TSW. Yeah, we had a bit of a spat with... Well, a spat. We had a bit of a section of the year mainly going into TSW reskins, which is what this first one is, which is your Class 40, Sam.
Yeah, I've never reskinned. That's one thing I've never done in Train Simulator, is doing reskinning, and I think that this was the first ever time I've ever produced any sort of reskin in any Train Simulator game, and I was really proud of it. I thought I got the green really, pretty much spot on to what the 40 green is. And the yellow panel as well, it doesn't look too bright. It's got that realistic look. I was really proud of this reskin. I thought that, wow, I've actually managed to reskin a loco in a train simulator. Granted, it's on a very basic editor, which is a bit like Forza or something from Xbox, but still, for me to go into the detail and put in all the numbers on the side of the cabs, I even custom built an entire logo on the side of it made out of different shapes. I was proud of it. And I think I remember showing Jake a a photo of this of this reskin. I remember, didn't I, Jake? I showed you. I said this
You
is my
possibly
first
did.
ever one.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
I
Well, so
think
what,
the thing is, as you said, I think the thing is, and I'm sure Daniel will agree, because obviously for those that don't, people might not know, it was last year that I learned to reskin,
Yes.
and I've got to admit it took me a while to get into it, and obviously further into this video you'll see some of the things that I've since had released, but I think, as you said, TSW, from what I haven't got it myself, but by the sounds of it, is a lot easier to do stuff. Obviously, it has its limits, whereas TS Classic is harder to reskin, but it's also, you can do things a lot better. Do you tell that makes any sense for anybody?
yeah. There's no
But no,
limitations.
it looks
in
good.
TS.
What is? Yeah, but as you said, it looks good. To be honest, you can't knock it.
Yeah, considering the game's limitations, I'm really proud with that reskin, and I did a couple of different numbers as well of full yellow end 40s, and I believe I introduced a plain green one as well, although that's not very good because the bloody handrails are still yellow on it, and you can't fix that because it's a DTG limitation. But but definitely I was proud of those.
I'll say it started the wave of TSW content for BLS, because next we had Mr. Will Braddock's. Even though he was meant to take a hiatus from BLS, he sort of came back for a little bit and done some TSW work. Done a couple of Class 52 reskins, and I think this one was my favourite.
Yeah, the chromatic blue one with the half yellow panel. Although there is a debate on this livery where some people call it chromatic blue and some people call it early blue. Now, if you look at the Helgen models or any model railway loco, you'll see that the livery is designated chromatic blue. So if the model railway companies say it's chromatic blue, I'm sure that it's more heading over to that is the proper name for it, I wouldn't call it early blue with small yellow warning panels because that just sounds a bit weird. Whereas if you say chromatic blue, small yellow warning, it's just better.
I go with chromatic blue.
Early blue's a lot lighter than that. Or am I thinking of electric blue?
You're thinking of electric blue.
Yeah, that's the 73 livery. Yeah, that's a bit different.
86s or 87s.
Yeah. What Will's done with this is really nice, because I've seen D1015 many times in person, and I've had mileage behind it, and he's done a really good job. It probably is one of my favourite westerns, and yeah, he's done a good job of it.
Yeah. So then after the 52s, the next day. Oh no, there's the other 52. I did have two pictures.
There you are, then.
So there you go.
I love this one. I really love this one because I remember saying to Will, why not try and do the maroon with full yellow ends one? Because it's different, it's interesting, and yeah, it is interesting. I love it. It looks great. What do you guys think of that?
I prefer the chromatic blue.
Okay.
I just like my chromatic blue.
Yeah.
I prefer the chromatic blue one, but that one is still nice.
It is nice, yeah.
Yeah, because that was worn by D1015 in 2018, I believe. Because it's had loads of different styles of livery. It's had half yellow panel maroon. It's had full yellow panel maroon. It's had golden ochre with swoops. It's had the chromatic blue. It's had so many different livery variants. So you're pretty much endless with the amount of liveries you can go with D1015.
The livery it's currently in is chromatic blue, so the one Will did was accurate at the time, and still is.
So yeah, then moving on, we had 37 411 reskin.
Yes, this was done by me. I have a soft spot for this 37 because I have an O gauge model of it, and I thought, why not make it in TSW? Because I've got the O gauge model, and perhaps I can just try and test my skills a little bit more with the TSW editor, because this was, believe it or not, a really challenging reskin to make, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at the orange cant rail around the edges of the cab and stuff, that was an absolute pig to make because of how the TSW editor is. you have to get like squares, thin the squares, and then stretch the squares out like, like you're making a really thin rectangular line all the way along it. And yeah, it was an absolute pig, especially to line it all up as well. So it was a great test of my skill, and also to make the nameplate itself was quite challenging as well, because again I had to get two separate pieces of squares, and sort of make the gold outline and the black inside, and then I had to write the name on, and writing the name took some doing because one side is Welsh and the other side is English, so I basically had to do two different nameplates. It was challenging. It was a really challenging reskin to make, but again, it's just another one I'm really proud of, and I enjoy using it, and I hope that other people enjoy using it too. Yeah.
So after that, another TSW, or another few TSW releases. Spirit of Steam came out, and then we had some 8Fs.
Mm-hmm.
This was done by me again.
So we're now into June, by the way.
This was. Go on, Sam.
I was going to say this was inspired by the Severn Valley Railways 8F 307. So this was I can't remember the real number of the 8F that this is on.
48.
48 307.
I believe it is.
Yeah, something like
What?
that. No, well,
yeah, it's actually. Oh, depending what disguise it's in, because I believe in its LMS number it's 8 something 33 or something, but its BR number is 48773, because I vaguely remember seeing it at Harley Engine House one year. In fact, I've got photos of it somewhere, and it had the cant lining down the side of the cab, and that's one of the reasons why I learned what the cant lining was for. The yellow cant stripe, the yellow stripe down the cab. I don't know what cant line. That's your fault, Sam. The yellow stripe down the cab was obviously so that it meant that it couldn't go past crew, I believe, because they were too big or something.
No, the yellow stripe on the cab means it can't go under OHLA.
Overhead live wires. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was, like you say, Jake, 48773. That is the loco it was inspired from. Because on the wartime events, often the Severn Valley would dress it up into this livery and number it 307 and put it into a WD livery. I believe I did two versions of this. One being the one with the yellow writing, as seen here, and numbers, and the other being white numbers and white writing, because they changed depending on the year. And I was quite impressed with it. I feel I got the black pretty spot on. It looks nice. You've got that sort of difference in the black and the smoke box as well. So you've got that sort of change in colour, which sort of gives it a bit more of a what's the word? It gives it more depth, doesn't it? It makes it look more realistic.
I've got another 8F picture here. I should have LNER one. So there you go.
There you go.
This one was Dan's one, I believe, as well.
So this technically isn't an 8F.
It isn't.
Didn't actually end up going abroad, but these were ordered by the London North Eastern Railway, and they were classified as, I think it was 06.
Yeah, sounds familiar. 06.
If I'm right,
that does sound familiar.
This is kind of a fictional 8F. This one did exist, but I don't think Jordan's got the number. I don't think Jordan's got a photo of the buffer beam.
No, I haven't. This is the only one I've got.
That's completely fine. On the buffer beam.
You can just see the number, and what I'm assuming is a shed plate thing underneath it.
Yes, I think for the shed code, Sam, you'll be able to help me, because I know you've got this. Did I name it Did I put Leicester on it or something?
I think it was. Yeah, it was
think it was
wherever
less-
it was based at. It was wherever it was based at.
I don't think it was a Leicester logo. I think it was, it's quite nice to have that. And you know what? Let's add a little bit of a twist to it. It was rather easy to do, and that was my first time doing any TSW reskinning. I know Sam gave me a few pointers and what to do and what not to do. But yeah, I did plan on doing another version. I planned on doing a version with the gill sands with the borders around it, as you see on normal LNER apple green. But instead, I just did it with just normal with wartime gill sands without the shading. I think that's what it's called, shading.
Yeah. I know the one you're on about.
Yeah.
So, and then moving on from the 8Fs, as it were, come to the final TSW reskin, Royal Livery Class 52.
Oh, I actually quite like this one.
I didn't know that. Was that who did that?
Is it Will? Or did you do it?
I did it, I believe.
You did it.
Yes.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
So basically, I had a chat with Will about this because I just wanted to I just got bored one evening basically, and I thought, you know what, it's the Platinum Jubilee, let's make another purple reskin in TSW. That's basically what came of it, and I thought, I know, I'd make a purple Western. So I stood there and I thought, how would I make this and get the yellow panel correct? So I know that Will had already done a couple of Western reskins for TSW, so I quickly messaged him and just asked him if I could use one of his reskins as a base. So he accepted and said that I'm okay to do that. And basically what I did is I just changed the colour and then changed the crest to the Platinum Jubilee crests on the side of the cabs. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. It's unusual. And I wouldn't mind seeing it in TS Classic, actually. That would be pretty cool to see in TS Classic. But I mean, some people are going to sit there and behind their computer screens right now and go, "What the is that?" You know?
Don't look at me. I'm not there.
I quite like it. It looks. Now, I think the thing at the end of the day is, I think with anything, I think at this point you could actually turn around. Obviously, I came back onto the chat earlier. I just on about the bullets earlier. And all I'll say is, at the end of the day, in real life, locos have been in some very weird colour schemes. And I think we can all, there's some that, i.e. Tor Valley, and it's one of those Marmite liveries, you either like it or you hate it. And I think, to be honest, this looks really nice. And I think it's one of those things, the 8F, for example, 862, before. I remember that when it was LMS red, and obviously it went over to BR red, and eventually BR black. And I think it's one of those things. It looks really. I actually quite like that risk. It looks really, really nice. That Western. So yeah, it doesn't bother me. I quite like it.
And the good part about that screenshot is that at the time that Western was named Western Prince, which is quite
appropriate.
Quite appropriate for the livery, really. Yeah, because it's a royal livery, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of royal livery, following from that, the 8th of June, another one from San Ana, the royal liveried Class 66.
Yeah, we seemed to have gone through a spur of, I think it was after the Tor Valley got released and we did all that special sort of tribute trailer to the Queen and everything and her Platinum Jubilee. We sort of went mad on the Platinum Jubilee content, didn't we?
Well, you had to.
Yeah, and I know that Sam Arna had a few in the bag, some of which still aren't released to this day.
No, there is one more due very soon. Like not in this video, I would say, but there is another one that is due to come out very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it's
one in this video actually.
Yeah, there is another one in this video, but I'm just saying there's another one in the pipeline to be released.
Right. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
think a few people already know which one that is because it has been put out on some news feeds and stuff in ATS. So, yeah. But yes, this is another release by Sam Miner, and it is also available on ATS as well as British Locomotive Studios. I believe one of the things I remember about this was it ended up getting released on ATS first, didn't it, Jordan?
Yes, it did.
When it was supposed to get released on both websites at exactly the same time. This was before Sam sort of got around the timings, didn't he? He needed. He's changed it now so that he knows the sort of time scale of when content goes up to ATS.
Yeah.
So he can know the time scale of when it's going on ATS, and then inform us at the point of it getting released on ATS, and then we'll release it at the same sort of time.
Yeah.
Just so it avoids, one developer getting it first before the other,
Yeah, that's it.
But yeah, but this was an interesting one. I like the Union Jack on the side of it, and some of you might be sat there and thinking, "Oh, it has a textured nameplate on the side." Well, that's intentional because when it was first out-shopped in this livery, it had a vinyl nameplate on the side of it. I believe it's now got a proper nameplate on it, if I'm not mistaken. But when it was first out-shopped in this livery, it just had a vinyl one. So that's what we've gone for with this.
I'll have a look for you now.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously we're not going to ponder too long on this.
No,
but
so moving on, quite a big part of our year, we hit 500 subscribers on YouTube.
And
this was on the 18th of June. This was.
So I suppose this is what leads to our big event, which we're going to talk about in a minute, isn't it? Or
yeah, well, we'll talk about that. It was a thing that's going on throughout a month, as it were. Lots of things going on, bits and pieces. This was one of them. The 22nd of June, we did a live stream Q&A, which went down fairly well.
Yeah, because this was during the 500 subscribers special.
Yes.
Yeah, because we did a festival where we did multiple different events throughout the month, didn't we?
Yeah.
To celebrate that 500 milestone. We hope to one day do an event like this again, but that will only happen if we reach 1,000 subscribers, which we still have a way to go.
Yeah, as you can see in the top right-hand corner, we are still a fair way off, but we've gained another 109 subscribers since hitting that 5. So thank you all for subscribing. Do appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because 74% of you watching this haven't. So hit that subscribe button.
And ding the notification bell.
Well, you could do that as well.
Yeah. I wish we could have an AWS sound, the bell sound when you press the notification bell. That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Moving on. Next, we have another one for Matilda, which was the LBSCR D1 Fictional Bullied Blue. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a long old title.
I really like this one. I really do. To me, that little tank engine just sort of suits that blue with the Southern Sunshine lettering. I don't know what it is. It just something about it does it for me.
It's unusual. It's unique, and I know that Matilda's. She was always really fond on creating unusual liveries for locomotives. That was her passion, was to not really focus on real world reskins, like realistic ones, but to sort of delve into creating some unusual fictitious liveries. And to this day, I believe she still does that. She's no longer in the team now, sadly, but yeah, I know that was one of her strengths.
Yeah.
Within the team is to create these unusual, strange-looking, fictitious liveries, and she's done a good job of it.
She has. So, next on the list, on the 28th of June, it's another little low point we had. Lofts Bridge route was is it cancelled or is it postponed?
It was postponed, I would say. I wouldn't say it's completely cancelled, but definitely postponed, because I remember you running it through the RW tools and finding over 2,000 requirements for the route,
There was
which
a lot.
it's just crazy. You can't expect the members of the public to have that many requirements, you know. So I said to the author of the route, Will, that for now we've got to postpone it because we've got to condense it down, and it's a debate really whether we're going to have a public release version of it. We do not know. It might just end up being private, and that's the reason why we released the Lofts Bridge coach reskins with our Christmas calendar, because we felt that we didn't want that work to get wasted. So we released them. But for now, I don't know what's happening with it. It was never meant to be a public release when the author made this route. It was purely a hobby for him. He would just sit one night on the PC and just build his model railway route in Train Sim. It was just a hobby. Never had any intention to release it. And that's the big problem with it, because he's used pretty much the entire Train Simulator catalogue that he has on the route. And that's why it's not really fit for public release.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah, never say never. There was a lot of stuff that's needed for it, and we felt it is a bit too much.
It's not practical.
No. So after that, the next day, we have another one of JRS's reskins, which was the GWR Dean Goods lined BR Green. So just adding another livery to that catalogue of Dean Goods, which we didn't have.
It looks lovely, and I've just noticed it's also coming out of Penning on your Elam Valley route.
Well, it was a little sneak peek on the route, which no one really seemed to pick up on, but yeah.
No one seemed to pick up on.
Nope.
No, to be fair, I don't think I ever even said anything about it, did I?
No, you didn't. Hence why I said no one picked up on it.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, there's the loco. Yeah.
So
yeah, forget the route in question.
Yeah,
there's the loco.
No one asks about the route. It's the loco. That's the main focus of it anyway. Is the loco, and it is a nicely done livery. The lining on it has been done very well. So next, we're moving into July.
Ooh, summertime.
I've just looked at the time. We're 1 hour 23 minutes into this podcast. We've just hit July. Let's go.
Well. There is a lot to talk about. It's surprising.
And another Platinum Jubilee livery. Let's go from Sam Arner again. 67007.
Loved it. This was brilliant as well. Nice, I love testing this. It's a great reskin. Yeah, it works with the Armstrong Powerhouse EP of the 67. And it's a lovely bit of kit. Definitely one of my favourites. And it's different as well, because a lot of the time BLS focuses on heritage stuff. So items such as steam locomotives and heritage diesels. So it was interesting to have something a little different with a more modern diesel. And I think that was something quite nice about this, and of course the Platinum Jubilee 66. So it was nice to have something for the more modern enthusiasts as well.
Yeah. So after that, we had one from Jake, which I believe was his first skin pack, which was the Tornado Support Coach pack.
Yes.
So, want to have a little bit of a chat about this, Jake? So this was the first time you ever reskinned, wasn't it? This was your first set of reskin.
Yes, it was. Yeah, part of the reason this came about was the fact that obviously, I don't know if you guys remember, back in not long after the Mark 1s got released in 2020, a guy called Ethan Beadle, I think his name was, Peppercorn Workshop, started releasing a load Mark 1 reskins. And one of the main ones was the Blood and Custard support coach for Tornado. Now, all I'll say about it, it was a good reskin, but it left the default. So all it was just a normal Mark 1. There was nothing particularly different about it. Now, for those people that have been up close to Tornado support coach or the engine itself, you'll know that the support coach it's not the default livery carried by the AP Mark 1s, that horrible, more like white than that yellowy cream that you come to know and love of the Blood and Custard livery, which is the one you could see on the far right side, which is the Blood and Custard livery. So that's one of the ones that I did. And obviously, as a result, I also did the 2 Marine ones as well. Now, if you may spot very closely looking at the 2 Marine ones, they both got the maroon ends to them. But if you look really, really closely, compare it to the rest of the maroon, they are slightly darker. And that is a deliberate thing. I took reference from the actual coach, looking at photographs of the actual coach and videos, and I've applied it to these reasons. Of course, obviously, if you look at the Blood and Custard version, it's got a grey end rather than the default white that AP applied to their coaches. So yeah, I was really pleased with it because it was the first one I've ever done. I don't know if we had any problems or not before we released it with testing. I don't think we did.
No,
I don't remember anything. But no, it
worked as it should in testing.
I think it was the 6024 one that I messed up a little, but yeah, I was quite pleased. It looks really, really good. I'm really pleased with it.
Yeah,
we just need a new model of Tornado now to go with it.
Yeah. So
I second that.
Yeah, we do.
Steven has Tornado's my favourite logo.
So next on the list, I don't believe I've got a image of it because I couldn't get a decent one from the live stream, but it was the 500 sub live stream. It's still up on YouTube. You can go back and rewatch it. It was a stream of us showing off a load of the BLS products from the very start to the very up to date on the Trundley Coast route. And yeah, TS done its usual thing and crashed right before the end of the stream. So
I didn't know that bit. I didn't realise that.
Oh yeah, it crashed on my end, and it was like, great way to end the stream, and it's a great way to end that 500 sub celebration, as it were.
There's
always the game crashing.
Yeah, there's always something in there.
So that was on the 23rd of July. On the 29th of July, we had another reskin from Matilda.
I quite like this.
37218.
Yeah, this one was a bit. It was an interesting one because I remember we announced it on the Facebook page, and it was one that people were very picky on, and I remember that this was the first time Matilda sort of delved into doing realistic reskins. So something that is in real world, something that is she can look at reference material and make it. This was her first sort of delve into that. And I remember there was a lot of people being really picky about it, saying that the blue wasn't quite right and that this wasn't quite right and this wasn't quite right. And I know that she messed about with it an awful lot, and she could never really get that blue completely spot on to what people wanted. And it just got to that point where it was like, okay, it looks pretty good. It looks really good. It's good enough. We'll get it out there because otherwise we're going to be here forever messing about, And that's sort of the story behind it. And it's interesting. It's nice because you've got the white wheel tires and you've got the red springs, and one of the probably the best parts about it, and probably the most favoured part about it, is the sort of white band around the buffers. There you can see there, it's sort of like a sort of drawn white around the buffers. It's just something.
It's a really nice watch.
It's a lovely feature. Yeah, it's very. It complements it really. And it's a lovely thing. And it's proven to be very popular, to be honest, because I know that a few people on ATS have used it in scenarios. So it turns out that it was a success.
Okay, I didn't know that, to be fair.
Yeah, it was a very successful reskin. A lot of people loved this one. So, even though there was a lot of fiddling and messing about and people were moaning about the blue, people have actually used it and been like, yeah, we love it. So
It's paid off in the end.
yeah, but then, you can never really please everybody, can
No,
you?
you can't.
Let's be honest.
You can't.
So,
Speaking of which, we're moving on to the next thing. Again, we're coming away from Train Simulator Classic to Trains, which we had a helping hand in. Well, I say we, Sam did. The Class 4MT tank was released for Trains 22.
yeah, so this, I came in contact with the developers of this model. So they were creating a new 4MT tank model for trains. Well, revamping an old one from many years ago. And they're known as GWR Works. So they primarily focus on Great Western stuff. But on this occasion, they decided to go a different route and try and do something BR. And I love it. I think it's a lovely bit of kit. For trains, considering, trains is considered a pretty basic simulator compared to some of the more modern day simulators. Considering it is a little bit basic, this thing is really advanced for the game. You've got, if you put the water in and stuff like that into the loco, you get the steam and the water coming out the side of the outside of the loco. You've got these brand new particle effects which look absolutely fantastic. I know there's a custom cab coming soon in the future. I don't know where he's got with that, but at the moment it just uses a sort of a default cab, but you can sort of lean out and have the lean out view, which is pretty cool. So you can still
I think it's Elias 2V 9F cab from
it's a 9F cab, but you can lean out the window and it has a 4MT exterior if you lean out the window. So that's what I tend to do.
Not to mention the double chimney smoke particles, Sam?
Ah, yes. Now, this is a thing that Jordan doesn't particularly like on it.
Nope.
He's convinced.
I'm not convinced. I'm certain.
Okay, you explain it. Yeah.
So, when Sam done his video and I watched it, the review of it, I did notice that at slower speeds, when you're watching the chimney chuff particles coming out, it resembled a double chimney smoke particle effect. You could clearly see a double puff as if it had a double chimney, which to me, okay, it's not right. It's not right, and that ruins it for me. That's me being really picky.
But you can barely notice it.
No, you can. You can notice it. Do not say you can barely notice it. I can notice it from afar. That's the first thing I picked up on.
I've had a play around with this. I delved into Trains 19, Trains 22, 2022 last year for a bit. And you know what? It wasn't bad. It's not bad for what it is. As Sam says, it's a pretty basic simulator. But the model's really good. And I know the model's from Trains 2004 days. But it's the way it's been revamped, the new textures, everything. It's just like a completely new model, basically.
It's had an entire new body pretty much constructed over it, which is just really impressive. And the sounds as well complement it, because obviously I recorded the sounds from the North York Moors Railway when I went on a trip with Will in 2019. It was recorded at high quality, and it's a great railway to record steam sounds on, because you can really get the locos working hard up the banks and things, and I really did get some really crystal clear recordings of 4MT sounds on that on that holiday. And it just to have it added to the model, it complements it, and it gives it this whole new experience for players in trains, and it makes it more realistic, and probably one of the most realistic steam locomotives you can get in the game today. So
well, the next bit as well, if you could just about make out where those 4MTs are placed, the next release that we are hosting on BLS, sticking with trains, Portline Parker's Swanage Railway, which Sam, I would say, is in love with.
Gobsmacked. I was gobsmacked when I first looked at this route, because I was so used to looking at the second valve Swanage Railway for Railworks, and I'm not being funny. It's my opinion, and I know some people would think otherwise, or some people might fight me against it or try and bite my head off about it. But I'm not 100% keen on it, because I just don't think it's as accurate as it could be. It could be better, and it's very cluttered, and it doesn't run necessarily the best compared to other routes in the game. And this route here, just seeing the level of detail and accuracy that Portline Parker put into it, into trains as well, it was gobsmacking. It was just, the route looks like it could be in Train Simulator Classic. It is that good. Is that well detailed. And I know a lot of people who watched the video even said in the comments, I wish this was in Train Sim Classic, or I wish I could use this route. When is it coming out? And it was great to get it out there as well, because I think that it's given people a more open mind about trains, and it shows what the simulator can do. If you put the effort into modeling stuff within this game, it does have the potential to be brilliant. We just need the modeling skill and people like Portline Parker and GW Works to come along and do this fantastic stuff for it, because it will breathe a whole new life to the game. And that's what I want to do with the sounds. That's why I do the sound editing for it, because it brings a whole new realistic level to the game. And to see routes like this, to see trains and rolling stock like this, and to hear all them realistic sounds, it's just fantastic. It brings people into the game, and I'm hoping that that's what this Swanage Railway has done, and it appears to have, because the amount of people who watched it and the amount of likes and comments we got asking about it, it was obvious that it was a big release for 2022. And all I can say to Portline Parker is fantastic job. And his real name is Thomas, so Thomas Parker. But yeah, so he's just done a stunning job, and it is a big hit, and it always will be a big hit. What do you guys think of it? When you watch the videos and stuff.
I watched the videos of it, and it does look quite good. It's on the level with Golden Age development stuff. You've got obviously the Purbeck line, which is the Swanage Railway, but in Steam era, and it just makes me wish we had a Preservation era version to that quality.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've still got to do a review on that route, but yeah,
you need
from what I've seen of it, it looks stunning, and that is
really nice.
From what I could see of it so far, we're looking at it. It's the best version of Swanage we have in the game at the moment, but obviously it's not in the modern era. It's just backdated, but from what I've seen of it, it does look fantastic. And yeah, so just be prepared for that review and the next part of my Swanage Railway saga, which I seem to keep doing, don't I? I seem to like doing reviews of all the different types of Swanage Railway routes we have in train simulators. So yeah.
Well, shall we move on to the 12th of August? Must say we are in August now with these trains releases, but the 12th of August we had Steam Dreams RBR coach released by Sam Arner.
This was another popular one. Our most popular pack for BLS in the history of British Locomotive Studios was the Riviera Trains coach pack, which was released a couple of years ago. And this, in a way, sort of leads on from that, because it is in sort of that same sort of area. It's a more modern mainline Mark I coach, as it were, and is used often on the Steam Dreams rail tours. And I know there was quite a lot of hype over this coach. They were like saying, yes, finally someone's done it, And I've been on the Steam Dreams tour myself, and I've got to tell you, Sam has pretty much got this coach spot on. pretty much spot on.
Well, it's funny you say that, Sam, because obviously now, Steam Dreams are part of the Loco Services team, aren't they now? They've got I can't remember who is it owned the B1. I can't remember his name for the life of me. I met him, which is really embarrassing. I can't remember his name. The guy who owned Mayflower sold his Loco to Hosking, obviously, who owns Steam Dreams. And because they sold the company Steam Dreams over to Hosking, so it's now under Hosking. No longer will you see West Coast coaching stock with the Steam Dreams coach.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of coaches, Jake, King Edward's support coach.
Yes. Yeah, this coach, if I remember correctly, did give us a few problems, I seem to remember.
Well, you say
Something I
us.
didn't. Well, it gave me.
That's better.
Well, yeah, because it gave me and Sam a few problems, to be fair, during the testing stage, because I did something and I deleted the folder and it came up with missing textures or something, which he spotted, which I soon corrected. And but yeah.
Was this the coach with was this the coach with the missing texture interior? It was, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, I remember this
Yes,
now.
it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, had fun getting this.
It's in the one of the. What do you remember this, Jordan? Do you remember this one?
No, I'm just saying you had fun getting this to work.
Yeah, I did. The thing about it was the at the start of it was when was it I put that announcement or we put that announcement about how I was doing support coach reskins, because the support coach from the coach pack, because obviously for those who don't know, the support coach pack that you'll either have or are getting from BLS from me came about. Well, my initial plan was to do the two West Shade support coaches that the guys who own the Duchess have. Obviously now SLS have done that and won't talk much about that. But yeah, and apart from that, other coaches obviously that were planned were this one, Bitten's Blood and Custard support coach, which is still being worked on. Well, it's almost ready for release, really. But yeah, this one, the Tornado one, which obviously we've not long shown here, and yeah, so there was a few I've sort of been doing behind the scenes which haven't been shown off. But yeah, this one was quite good fun. I think one of the days Sam was actually on a chat with me when I did the blue ends to it. So that sort of turquoisey blue green end, and yeah, it was good fun doing it because it was just different.
It's my favourite part of it.
Different. I think the thing is, a lot of people focus on locomotives, 4TS, doing different reskins for engines and all that, or doing sound, but they don't realise that the support coaches, some of them, if you ever get close enough to look at them, they are very. They are just as important as the engines themselves, but there can be some very interesting liveries as well. I don't know if any of you guys remember when Bitten's coach was in that almost like a Pullman livery.
No.
I don't know whether you remember that particularly.
No.
I'm going back probably 10 years ago, so it was 2013, something like that. So no, it's probably 8 years ago, something like that possibly. But that obviously went into Blood and Custard. It's now with the guys at LSL, but this coach obviously used to go around with 6024. I believe it's now painted into Blood and Custard, so it's gone under the Saphos Trains branding, which is a shame really, because I actually prefer the chocolate and cream over Blood and Custard. I think that's very boring what Saphos have done, but hey ho. But no, I've enjoyed doing that one. It was nice the fact that the ends of the corridors have got the 6024 thing on the end, which is, if you look at photographs, is what it had before it went over to LSL, really. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing that one.
That's fair enough. Something else that someone else enjoyed doing, 20th of August, we had the BLS vlog of the GCR meet finally released.
Oh God, it's me with
Yes,
black hair.
finally, Mr. Beeman.
Hey, look, it's you, Dan. You're in that photo. And then we also got Callum from 84F look there look, as well. Look.
Yep.
As we met up with him as well, didn't we?
We
for,
did.
for a few little bits and pieces.
Couple of trips.
Yeah, a couple of trips, and that was a great weekend. It was a nightmare to edit that vlog because I was basically filming 2 films for this because I own another channel called Train Hunters, which does a Rail Riders series, which is basically a series about me and friends going around preserved railways and just talking a little bit about them and and the locomotives featured in and what we see, and I thought I could film that and film the BLS vlog at the same time, but because of me doing that, it made me have over about 300 clips or something silly like that, and it was an absolute pig to go through it all and think of what to use and what not to use, and it just took me forever to make this vlog. It really did. And I know the guys kept nagging and nagging. I'd be like, "Oh, I really can't be asked." No, it's always like that, weren't I, Jordan?
Yeah.
We
had to push you to get it to get it finished. Otherwise, it was never going to get done.
Yeah. But we finally got there.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's done.
I'll go and watch it later. I haven't watched it in a while.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh no! Yeah, me getting off the 101.
Yeah.
So,
love that.
Moving into September now, and back to trains, we had Elsica route released by LJ.
Hey, I kept nagging Lewis about this one. I love this route that he made. It's brilliant. It still actually has a couple of issues on it that he still needs rectifying. There's about 2 or 3 missing assets still on the route that he still needs to patch up. But you can use it as it is, but you don't notice what's missing. It's only like a couple of people or something, so you don't notice it. The entire route is there though and downloadable on the BLS website. But I loved it. I thought he's done such a fabulous job. It does look a lot like the Elsica Heritage Railway, and especially as he's built in trains. Bear in mind he didn't use a Google Maps overlay or anything like that. It looks pretty much bang on. It really does, and it was quite a good thing as well, and a tribute to the railway itself, because sadly the Elsica Heritage Railway has recently closed because of COVID. So it is a heritage railway that the UK has sadly lost. And I think that this route just sort of gives it a bit of a tribute, to sort of remember it in a way, give it a bit of a memorial. That's why I love it. I think it's a good tribute to that dead heritage railway. RIP Elsica.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So moving on from Elsica, we did have sort of a gap in September where there wasn't a lot of releases going on. That was for a very good reason. Me and Sam worked tirelessly to get the new British Locomotive Studios website up and running, which we'd been working on for months, but needed that push to again get it finished.
This was a long time coming. This was it needed to be done. Yeah, it did. It was something that kept being brought up by our customers, saying that they find it really difficult to find reskins on the current website, and the whole scrolling through the pages to get to the new stuff was a pain in the backside. So we thought, you know what, it's time that we made a brand new website, and that's what we did. And we did it more professionally as well, because we're now paying for the domain. Before we was just just leaving it as a default domain, wasn't we, Jordan? But this time we've actually put some money into making this website and making it more professional, and I think it's paid off. And I think the other lads can agree with that too, can't you?
Yeah.
I know you guys said when I was showing it off in the Facebook group chat, you were saying just how much more professional and more of a better layout than what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And can thank Jordan actually for a majority of the website layout, because he designed his work website, didn't you?
Yeah, so what I basically said to Sam is, look at this website that I've built from a blank canvas. Well, it wasn't a blank canvas, it was given to me partially built, and I just built it around and built it up. So giving Sam the look of my works website, we could then transfer the look of that and adapt it to what we needed for British Locomotive Studios, and it has paid off. There was a lot of hours put into this, back and forth, Discord calls, video calls, to get this to look right. And yeah, it has paid off. And a week later after that, I haven't got an image of it, but we had the merchandise release on the website as well. And that was at the end of September. What
did we release with the website?
I believe we released 3 new bits of content, and that was the Elsica Heritage Railway. I believe it was Elsica, wasn't it? Yeah, Elsica was one of them. James, which was the U-boat in the James Midhants livery for the Thomas
the
things.
Class 37.
And the Class 37 reskins, the EPS.
That's
it the Euro pack?
Yep.
Yeah, for the Euro Tunnel 37s. So we had 3 nice new releases to make up for the long wait of the website. Because I know that a lot of people were waiting a long time for this. Yeah. And to give them 3 releases with the website, I think that sort of made up for the length that they've had to wait for it.
For sure. But yeah, to me, that's one of our, well, for me, it's a big highlight of the year, getting that finished and out there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
So moving away from September, we've only got a few bits left, as the end of the year was a bit more slower for us. Coming into October, that's the wrong one. Oh, this is going to keep playing its own thing now. Dear, my bad.
Do you need a picture, Jordan?
That one.
Oh yeah, that one.
Something had to go wrong eventually with these images.
It's a shame, because every single one of them has been working just fine until now.
Till then.
Brilliant, isn't it?
So so we had the unrebuilt Building Light Pacific sound mod from Dan, which utilises the Steam Sound Supreme ones.
It's the Steam Sound Supreme Working Days pack, as well as fully Giesel ejector on 34092 City of Wells.
And also Wadebridge.
Yeah, the Wadebridge one uses... Wait, no, it doesn't use the Working Days one. It uses the Preservation pack. I'm getting it wrong. Yeah. Uses the Preservation pack because I don't know who... It might have been you, Jordan, that approached me about saying Wadebridge as an out of type.
Yeah, I said to you, go and listen to Wadebridge. She has a slightly offbeat to her, to the rest of the classmates.
And so it happens. There was already sound. There was already a sound bin for that.
In the... Steam Sound Supremes have already done it. Just go and grab it. We do know there is a fault with this. Well, I say a fault. It's the wheel slip sound, isn't it?
I'm currently working around this. The way I've done it is I've just made the locomotive reference the sound, like not the sounds, but as in the bin file from the Steam Sound Supreme pack, which is obviously set up for the digital traction bullies. I'm currently working in a way around of matching up the sounds, as in editing the proxy XML files. So editing the sounds within them, so the pack, to match the Bossman Games ones with the unrebuilt Steam Sound Supreme ones. It's proven to work. It's a slow process, because staring at lines of code for several hours on end does your nut in.
Yeah.
And I just can't do that. But it will eventually get done. It's just when and where I have, a few hours where I'm actually willing to sit down and look through code.
Yeah. And that leads us into the next one, which was the unrebuilt. The rebuilt bullied sound mod?
Funnily enough, this came around because of you, Jordan, because you mentioned that.
Well, no,
it
it wasn't me. It was Sam saying, "Can you change the spacebar whistle?"
Was it you, Sam?
Yeah, I wanted you to change the B key whistles because the trouble with it is the B key and V key whistles, even though they are quite nice as the BMG ones, they don't quite match the volume levels of the Steam Sound Supreme sounds. So you'll find that the chuffs and overall engine sounds of the Bullet is slightly louder than some of the whistle recordings that BMG have recorded from the B and V whistles. That's why I wanted them changed, so it matches it a little bit better than what it does at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
I say I don't know whether you want to do an update for it or you're going to end up doing it in the future. I don't know, but that's just my opinion on it. To make an improvement, that's what I think would improve it.
Yeah.
With the whole changing the wheel slip sounds and re-scripting the sounds, this is the one I'm working on at the moment. I'm currently working on the rebuilds.
Yeah, so I must say this was released a month after the unrebuilt.
Yeah,
this is
November. This one came first, as in like editing wise, because I says to Jordan, "Oh, why don't we release this? Why don't we release this?" But then we were like, "Why don't we wait till the unrebuilts are released from Bossman Games, do that, and then release this?"
Yeah. No, I think it was more of the fact that you put it into testing without a manual, Daniel.
Yeah. See, we'll ignore that. We'll gloss over that fact.
That's the reason it didn't come first, because you forgot to add the manual.
In regards to the B and V key whistles, Sam, I've recently discovered that you can increase the volume of said B and V key whistles.
Oh, okay.
So I can have a play around and see if I can match them with the same volume as the exhaust beats in the main whistle from the SSS pack. I found that out when I was messing with the mana with the chime whistle on it. I was just having a play around, and I found out that I could increase the volume because I found the whistle was way too quiet. And I was like, oh, so now Sam can stop nagging at me because I can actually increase the volume of them. So yeah, that's basically that. I've got to get around to doing it.
Yeah. Next on the
list. They were.
Go on.
Sorry, yeah, they were like the two top releases of the year for me because I'm not really a southerner. I'm not really a southern fan. I mean, I have roots from. I am more or less a southerner because I was born in Portsmouth, but everyone knows me more of a Eastern fan or a Great Western fan. But to see me do something like a Bullied it's a bit of change, really. It's something new for me to do, and they seem to have hit off quite well. We had people messaging on the Facebook page, when are they going to be released? We had this one guy, I think his name's George Stadler or something. Sorry if I've got your name wrong. He was like, when's the Bullied pack going to be released and stuff like that? And I was like, soon. Just need to finish up doing it. But yeah, it's been received really well, and I'm quite proud of how far I've come with sound editing in the last year. This is like the epitome of what I've done. This is like where I managed to figure out where I didn't have to copy sound files across. I could just reference them from other bin files and stuff. And yeah, I'm really proud of it.
It had a big following. It was as well. I noticed that a lot of the time, and this is just a shout out to one of the members of the community, actually, Daryl Pointer. He tends to share quite a bit of BLS posts to Ralsim Users Group, and I do thank him ever so much for doing that, mate. Keep doing that because that's brilliant. Really does help us out. But yeah, he shared a couple of posts about this as well on the Ralsim Users Group. So they did have a big following.
Yeah, and they were received very well. And Bring On 2.0, I'll probably go grey by the time I finish doing it, but yeah, I've very much enjoyed doing it. I'm glad the community is, enjoying it.
moving on next, we're coming up to the last two major things for the year. 8th of November. Why it's got a 20 on it, don't ask me. But this was a Trains release, Class 46 sound pack release. And this was the image they had.
Yeah, so
Sam.
when I released the Class 46 sound pack for Trains, I thought I need to delve into a guide on how to install the sounds, because I had a few people come up and ask, how do you install it, or how do you add the sounds to a specific reskin or model in Trains? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a guide to the BLS sound packs. So included with the video was obviously the Class 20, as you can see at the beginning here. So this was the beginning of the video, where it showed off the Class 20 sounds that I did recently. But the main feature was obviously the Class 46, which at the moment I think is my best project I've done for Trains, because I managed over the years I've continuously edited sounds for Trains, and sorry, I'm just slurping my cup of tea. So I've continuously made sounds for Trains, and I've got better each time. And I finally found that sort of spot, as it were, to give it a very nice transition between the revs. And I think the 46 is probably the smoothest transitions that I've done in the means of sounds for Trains so far released. I haven't yet released a Class 25 3 sound, which I've done recently. That's another really good one, but I'm still yet to get that out there. But I'm still waiting for a couple of reskins being made from Will before I release that sound pack, because I want them to go onto these reskins. So we'll just, in due course, that will come out. But yeah, it was a breakthrough in the means of my sounds for Trains. It was, and to this day, as I say, the 46 is the best pack I've done so far in the means of sounds for Trains.
Well, there you are. So, helpful guide. And so, the final release for BLS, bar the 12 days of Christmas, obviously, on the 2nd of December, Jake, it was your vintage Trains coach pack.
Yeah, back to me again, are we? Yeah, obviously for those people that do know me, you'll know that I do love my vintage Trains stuff. I absolutely love. I spent the majority of 2019 chasing Cullen Castle, and as well as her, I spent most of 2019 also chasing Bahamas as well, when she was running under Vintage Trains as a train operator. And from that, obviously, well, 2020 was probably the worst year any of us had, and I obviously that was also the start of the year before we knew what a certain thing was going to throw at us. Obviously, we had the Mark 1s, which obviously went really well with the Mark 2s that AP brought out. But then it was only recently I got it was after the success I did with the support coach. I started thinking, so, well, it's sort of very well and good, but I'd quite like to try and do some reskins of Vintage Trains coaching stock. Now, some of you may remember the Mainline Halls enhancement pack by SSS. With that, they had some freeware reskins. Well, I say freeware because it's compact, but they had some more reskins packaged in of the Vintage Trains Mark II. So they were like the really spotlessly clean version and the slightly weathered, mucky version of the weathered faded paint, one would call it. And that's what I've kind of applied here for the Mark II stock. So if you look, I think it's on the left-hand side is the weathered version of the coaches, or well, the weathered version of the brake coach, the BSO, and obviously on the right you've got the spotlessly clean version. And this took me a bit of time trying to get these right, because like the Mark 1 texture, I got a funny feeling the Mark 2 is a bit of a fiddle. and it's not as easy, I've got to admit. And one of the things funny enough, me and Callum of 80, is it 84F?
84.
He obviously did the back file for me. I owe a lot of thanks to Daniel for allowing me to use his Pullman Mark 1 reskins. So they got they've now in this pack they've got they haven't got the GCR thing as per his GCR Pullman pack, but they are a bit of a standing really, because obviously we haven't got the proper Pullmans that Tyson use, which are the Metrocam Pullmans. Please, AP, if you're watching this video, please bring out a second Mark 1 volume. We do need it desperately. Another thing that we did get a comment about not long after this got brought up was the lack of GUV. Again, AP, if you're watching this, please bring us a new GUV model. Please, we do need it. But yeah, also in this pack, you've got 2 Mark 1 brake coaches. Now, one's a BSK, which is the support coach, W35470, I think it is, and obviously the BFK as well. And anyone who's ever been on a Tysley tour, Shakespeare Express or up to York or wherever, you'll be pretty familiar with these coaching stock. They are very well recognised, usually behind a castle or Reed Ashton Hall or something. Or more recently, since 2021, they've been taking them out behind 20189 and 142. That's both on the Shakespeare and also the trips around and about. But then last year, so more recently, they sent them out with 50. I can't remember the number, Daniel. You might be able to correct me on that. I can't remember.
007, isn't it? Or...
It's a blue one.
It's a blue one, yeah. I can't remember what the blue one is now.
It might be 007. It could be 007.
I'll have a look. Keep talking about it and I'll have a look.
But no, yeah, these were a bit of a test, really, to see whether I could actually do these and get them as good as I've done the other ones. Because I suppose you could almost say for the other packs I've done, I haven't really done much to change the colours, whereas this was really trying to sort of up the cream livery, make it more of the typical yellow cream you see on spotlessly clean coaches, but also you got the white roofs as well. And that's one of the things that the default Mark 1's never had compared to the Mark 2s, which is the white roofs on the mainline ones, which is as per the Tysley coaches. So it was just a bit of it worked really. I don't know what else I can say. They look good. I got a funny feeling we had to try and, I think we had a bit of toing and froing getting the back file to work, or we had something, I can't remember what it was, top of my head. Actually, I know what it was.
I know which one it was.
What?
It's 50-50. Fearless.
That was it. I knew it wasn't. Yeah, that was. I knew it wasn't 007 because 007's the GBRF one.
Yeah, I'm thinking but back when it was blue in 2016.
Yeah, but no, it's a really good pack. I'm pleased with it, and I'm hoping that when BMG bring out their Castle, which is something that should be happening later in the year, I sincerely hope it'll look really good with it. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say really. One thing I will say is, for those who haven't noticed already, this pack does also have a couple of consists, pre-planned consists, which Callum very nicely put together for us. Thank you so much, Callum, and also for doing the back file for us. Unfortunately, I think Sam Arnold wasn't available at the time, or was busy or something, so we wasn't able to do it. I don't even think Daniel was about at the time either, so it was a last minute. So, can you do this, please? Because I think, as you found out, Sam, or Jordan found out, there's a lot of GO to put in, isn't there?
Tons. It was a nightmare to install, just copying and pasting. So I was like, yeah, it needs a bat.
Yeah. It wasn't quite as bad as the Riviera Mark, but it much better. Yeah. Yeah. We'll gloss over that bit, shall we? But yeah. I'm pleased. I think they've come out well. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think they're quite nice, and I quite like what you've done with my reskins. You've given them a new lease of life. They can not just be used on the Great Central. They can be used on Main 9 now.
It's
Um,
I really liked it as well because I like the change of yellow that you did, because it wasn't just like that cream, it's a more sort of a yellowy cream. And I know some
Yeah.
people and a certain somebody was moaning about it being too yellow, but it is like that in real life.
Yeah, we'll
So-
gloss over that person.
Yeah, but it is sort of yellowy cream in real life, and I'm glad that you've captured that, and it looks brilliant. And I think you've done a fantastic job on it. And they've proven to be quite popular because I know that Terry Barlett has featured them in a recent video. If you head over to his YouTube channel,
Oh, has
Jake,
he?
you'll see them. running on his
I'll look at
New
that.
Year's
I haven't seen that.
New Year's Day special, I believe he
okay.
ran them on. Yeah.
In fact, one thing I will quickly add about this pack. This pack, it there's a bit of a laugh here, a bit of a funny story to how they were released. Was it the back end of November, Jordan?
No, this was the 2nd of December they released.
So it's just before you went away to America.
Sorry, yes, sorry, yes, it was. Sorry, I remember now. Yes, because I wanted to try and get them out before I went away, which is hence why we had the problem of getting someone to do the backfile for us, which is why Callum got asked it. Again, Callum, if you're watching this, thank you so much for your help. I've got a feeling if we hadn't have had you, Sam would be cursing me for the fact that we'd have had to do it manually, or people would be cursing me for the manual geo file swap over. But the backstory behind the why they were releasing just before, so it was like the fourth thing I went away, was the fact I was going away and I didn't want to leave them half finished, and I wanted to get them out before I went away, which is why I worked really quickly around the clock to get them out. And I think one evening, Sam, I think you were with me while I was doing them or something, or was I can't remember off the top of my head now. But,
Yeah, I was with you at that point. Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it was whoever's done it, if anyone's here's done reskin, you'll know that it's a case of sort of constantly going to and from to look at how it looks. Have I missed something? And they've come out really well. Well, to be honest, it's I'm sure there's many routes they can be used on. Just tell me what they are, please.
Yeah, brilliant, and it was very popular when it came out. I do know that because it got a lot of good feedback. So yes, I think that that ends our look back of 2022, doesn't it, Jordan? We've pretty much covered everything.
It does for now. Obviously, we got the 12 days of Christmas to go through at some point. We should be doing that fairly soon. But yeah, that is a complete look back of like the releases and some of the major bits that happened through 2022. So all I can say is 2023 is looking up for us. If we can replicate what we've done in 22 but make it better, sky's the limit.
Well, I already know there's going to be a big step in 2023 happening already, and I think some of you have probably seen that on the Facebook post recently. We're going to start introducing some installers to some of our packs. Thanks to Daniel here.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, thanks to Daniel here, we're going to start introducing some installers, which will make life easier for everyone who are downloading our content. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. And that's one big thing of 2023 that's happening.
Yeah. So, I think that's going to bring us to the end of this podcast, and a very long podcast at that. So if you have stuck with us all the way through it, you're mad. No. Thank you for joining us for this look back of BLS in 2022. So I would just like to say to the other guys for joining me, which was Dan,
Hi,
Jake, and Sam.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us again on the podcast. This has been your host, Jordan Devison, with some of the BLS team on the look back of BLS 22. Look forward to seeing you and carrying on in 23. Take care,
Goodbye
everyone.
for now.
goodbye.
Bye.